July 12, 1943. For 20 hours. A wheat field south of Prokhorovka, Kursk salient. The temperature is 17 degrees Celsius. Low fog at ground level. Visibility less than 120 meters. A Soviet rifle platoon is pinned in a shallow anti-tank ditch running east to west. The ditch is 1.6 meters deep. It was dug the previous night. It has no overhead cover. The earth is chalky and dry. The sides crumble when leaned on. In front of the ditch, at a distance of 90 meters, German armored vehicles are forming line abreast. At least 12 engines can be heard. The sound is clear and unbroken. There is no friendly armor in response. There has been no radio contact with higher command since 3:40. Behind the ditch, 60 meters to the rear, lies a Soviet mine belt laid in June. It is unmarked. The platoon was not issued a clearance map. Movement backward is not possible. To the left, the ditch ends in open ground swept by German machine gun fire. To the right, it runs into a burned-out T-34, destroyed 2 days earlier. The tank blocks the trench completely. There is no passage. At 4:21, German artillery begins firing airburst shells. The bursts are set low. Shrapnel cuts downward into the ditch. 2 men are wounded in the first 10 seconds. One is hit in the neck. One in the thigh. Neither can be evacuated. The platoon has 32 men at strength. At this moment, 26 are still able to fight. They are armed with 23 Mosin, Nagant rifles, 2 DP-27 light machine guns, and 1 PTRD anti-tank rifle with 14 rounds remaining. German infantry elements are estimated at company strength. Armor support includes Panzer IV tanks and at least 1 Tiger. The Tiger is identified by engine tone and track noise. The distance is closing. Retreat is impossible because of the mine belt and the lack of time. Surrender is irrational. The Waffen-SS units attacking this sector have been under orders since July 10 to take no prisoners during the breakthrough phase. This has been confirmed by captured documents and by earlier actions in adjacent sectors. At 4:23, the German tanks begin advancing at walking speed. Infantry follows at 15 to 20 meters behind the armor. The tanks are firing high explosive rounds into the ditch line. Each impact collapses another section of earth. The Soviet platoon has no remaining field telephone. The radio was destroyed at 3:55 by shellfire. Signal flares were expended the previous evening. There is no supporting artillery scheduled. The next planned barrage is set for 5 o'clock, aimed 400 meters to the west. It will not reach this position. At 4:24, 1 DP-27 jams after firing 37 rounds. The gunner attempts to clear it. His hands are shaking. The spring is bent. The weapon does not return to battery. German machine gun fire increases. Tracer rounds are visible through the fog. They are coming from multiple angles. The sound suggests at least 4 MG-34s in action. The platoon commander looks at his watch. It is a simple wristwatch, issued in 1942. The second hand is ticking audibly in the confined space of the ditch. By 4:25, the German lead tank is within 60 meters. The Soviet anti-tank rifle can penetrate the side armor of a Panzer IV at this range, but not the frontal plate. The Tiger is immune at all angles. The PTRD has 14 rounds. The loader has already lost 3 fingers on his left hand from frostbite the previous winter. He loads slowly. At 4:26, a shell detonates directly behind the ditch. 2 men are buried. 1 is killed instantly. 1 is trapped up to the chest and cannot move. The platoon is outnumbered at least 5 to 1. There is no avenue of withdrawal. There is no reinforcement coming. Within minutes, the German infantry will reach grenade range. Death is the expected outcome. The only remaining variable is how long it will take. At 4:27, the platoon commander gives an order that cannot be reversed. Before the war, he lived in the city of Kursk, 5 kilometers from the rail yard. The year was 1938. His name was Senior Lieutenant Ivan Mikhailovich Sokolov. He was 26 years old. He worked as a survey technician for the Regional Land Committee. His job involved measuring field boundaries and updating cadastral maps damaged by seasonal flooding. The work was repetitive and paid poorly. It required no political reliability checks beyond standard party membership, which he did not have. He lived in a 2-room apartment with his wife and a daughter born in 1940. The apartment was shared with another family. The kitchen was communal. Hot water was unreliable. Coal deliveries were irregular in winter. His wife worked part-time at a textile cooperative. His daughter was cared for by neighbors during the day. There were no extended family members nearby. His parents lived in a village 90 kilometers south. He visited them twice a year, when rail passes were available. He owned no car. He did not expect to own one. His commute was on foot. The walk took 30 minutes in good weather, longer in spring when the streets turned to mud. He had completed secondary education. He had no higher technical training. His military service before the war consisted of a 2-year conscription term ending in 1936. He served as a private in a rifle unit. He was not promoted during that period. He did not read military journals. He did not discuss foreign policy. His concerns were local and immediate. Food prices. Fuel shortages. The condition of the stairwell in his building. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941, he was at home. The radio announcement came at noon. He listened without comment. He did not volunteer that day. His mobilization notice arrived in August. It was delivered by hand. He reported as ordered. There was no ceremony. His wife packed his belongings. He left behind 1 civilian suit, 2 shirts, and his winter boots, which were considered too worn for service. He did not expect to return quickly. He did not expect not to return at all. He made no statements to either effect. At the assembly point, he was one of hundreds. Names were checked. Equipment was issued. Most of it was obsolete. Rifles dated from the First World War. Boots were mismatched. He was indistinguishable from the others. There was nothing about him that suggested future command or survival. If he had not been present, another man would have taken his place. In the first weeks, many did not learn each other's names. They learned faces and voices instead. That was sufficient. Ivan Sokolov entered active service in September 1941. He was assigned to the 95th Rifle Division, newly reconstituted after losses outside Kiev. His regiment was the 161st Rifle Regiment. The division was under strength. Most companies had fewer than 70 men. Training lasted 3 weeks. It took place near Voronezh. Live ammunition was limited. Each man fired no more than 15 rounds during marksmanship training. Grenade practice was conducted with inert charges. Tactical movement was taught on paper, not in the field. Sokolov was promoted to junior lieutenant in November. The promotion was administrative. The previous platoon commander had been killed by artillery during a road march. There was no formal handover. Sokolov was given a notebook with partial rosters and a damaged compass. His first combat occurred on December 3, 1941, near the Don River. The temperature was -18 degrees Celsius. Snow depth was 40 centimeters. The platoon was ordered to probe a German-held tree line at dawn. The Germans were alert. Machine gun fire began at 6:12. The platoon advanced 70 meters before taking casualties. 2 men were killed immediately. 1 was hit in the face. 1 in the abdomen. A third froze in place and had to be pushed forward. The attack was called off at 6:25. No ground was gained. The platoon withdrew under fire. Sokolov lost one boot during the withdrawal. He did not retrieve it. He completed the march back with one foot wrapped in cloth. Over the winter of 1941-42, the platoon was rotated through defensive positions. Casualties came from frostbite and shelling more than direct contact. Ammunition shortages were constant. Food was inconsistent. Sleep was limited to short intervals. In May 1942, during an engagement near Kharkov, Sokolov experienced the incident that later governed his decisions. On May 17, at 1440, his platoon was ordered to hold a road junction against a German armored reconnaissance element. The order specified, "Hold at all costs." No anti-tank weapons were issued beyond one bundle of grenades. At 1510, two German armored cars approached from the south. Infantry followed at distance. The platoon opened fire. Rifle rounds were ineffective. The armored cars returned fire with autocannons. At 1517, Sokolov ordered a withdrawal without authorization. He believed the position untenable. As the platoon pulled back 50 meters, a battalion political officer appeared from the rear. He countermanded the order. He threatened arrest. Sokolov hesitated. He delayed reissuing his withdrawal order for approximately 30 seconds. During that interval, a German shell struck the junction. 3 men were killed. 1 was dismembered. 2 others were wounded and later died from blood loss. The platoon eventually withdrew anyway. The political officer was wounded and evacuated. No formal report was filed. The dead were buried that evening in shallow graves beside the road. Afterward, Sokolov did not discuss the incident. He did not complain. He complied with orders more precisely. He stopped improvising. In August 1942, he was promoted to senior lieutenant due to attrition. His platoon strength fluctuated constantly. New men arrived with no training. Names changed weekly. By early 1943, the division had been refitted. Equipment improved slightly. Radios were issued sporadically. Training resumed in March near Kursk. Sokolov drilled his men repeatedly on fire discipline and timing. He emphasized waiting. He did not explain why. On July 4, 1943, the division took up defensive positions south of Prokhorovka. Mine belts were laid. Trenches were dug. The men were told this time the Germans would come in strength. At 2200 hours on July 11, Sokolov inspected the anti-tank ditch his platoon would occupy. He noted the lack of cover. He noted the blocked exit to the right. He said nothing. At 3:40 on July 12, the radio went silent. July 12, 1943. For 27 hours. South of Prokhorovka. Senior Lieutenant Sokolov does not raise his voice. The order is given quietly, passed down the ditch by hand signals and short phrases. It is not an attack order. It is a timing order. He instructs the PTRD crew to hold fire until the lead Panzer IV crosses a line marked by a broken fence post 45 meters ahead. He instructs both DP-27 teams to fire only on infantry, not armor, and only in 5-round bursts. He assigns 2 riflemen to watch the flanks, although there is nowhere to maneuver. At 4:28, the German artillery shifts forward by approximately 30 meters. The shells now land behind the ditch. This indicates preparation for infantry assault. The pause between bursts lengthens. The German commanders expect the position to be neutralized. Inside the ditch, men are breathing rapidly. Several have stopped responding to verbal commands. One is repeatedly removing and reseating the bolt of his rifle. Another is pressing his helmet down with both hands. The wounded man in the thigh has lost significant blood. A field dressing was applied at 4:22. It is soaked through. He is silent. The man buried up to the chest is still alive. He asks once to be pulled free. No one responds. At 4:29, the Tiger halts at approximately 70 meters. Its turret traverses left to right. The barrel elevates slightly. This indicates target acquisition, not suppression fire. Sokolov checks his watch again. He waits until the second hand passes the 12. At 4:30, he gives the signal. The PTRD fires its first round. The shot impacts the side of a Panzer IV at 42 meters. The armor is penetrated. Flames emerge from the engine compartment. The tank stops moving within 5 seconds. German infantry immediately drops prone. Machine gun fire increases. Tracers now strike the ditch continuously. One DP-27 opens fire. The second does not. Its gunner has been hit in the shoulder and is no longer functional. The Tiger fires at 4:30 and 40 seconds. The shell impacts the ditch directly. 2 men are killed by blast concussion. One is thrown clear. His rifle is bent. Sokolov does not issue further orders. He moves along the ditch, physically repositioning men. He pushes one rifle barrel downward to conserve ammunition. He pulls another man back from the edge as grenades begin to land short. At 4:31, German infantry reaches grenade range. Stick grenades are thrown in volleys. 3 detonate inside the ditch. The confined space amplifies the blast. The man buried to the chest is killed. The wounded man in the thigh loses consciousness. A German squad attempts to flank left. They are engaged at 25 meters. 8 rifle rounds are fired. 2 Germans fall. The rest withdraw behind the tanks. A second PTRD round is fired at 4:32. It strikes the frontal armor of the Tiger. It ricochets. The impact draws immediate return fire. The PTRD position is destroyed. The gunner is killed. The loader is wounded again, this time in the abdomen. At 4:33, Sokolov recognizes the shift. German infantry is no longer cautious. They are advancing in short rushes. The tanks have ceased suppressive fire. This indicates the decision to overrun the position rather than neutralize it with fire. Sokolov recalls the delay at Kharkov. 30 seconds. 3 dead. He does not delay now. At 4:34, he orders the remaining men to concentrate fire on the infantry and ignore the armor entirely. He then does something not covered by standing orders. He instructs 2 men to throw smoke grenades to the rear, into the mine belt. The smoke deploys unevenly. White clouds obscure the rear of the ditch. The German observers misinterpret the movement. They shift fire backward. At 4:35, Sokolov orders movement, not retreat, but displacement. The men move laterally along the ditch, toward the burned-out T-34. They do this under fire. 1 trips. 1 is hit and left where he falls. At the tank hull, Sokolov orders the remaining explosives placed inside the turret ring. There are 3 grenades left. At 4:36, German infantry reaches the original platoon position. They find it mostly empty. Fire slackens momentarily. At 4:37, the grenades detonate inside the T-34. The explosion collapses part of the ditch and fills the area with debris and smoke. The effect is not destructive. It is confusing. In that confusion, Sokolov leads what remains of his platoon, 9 men, forward, not backward, through a narrow gap between shell craters. They advance 30 meters under fire. At 4:38, a German machine gun team opens fire from the flank. Sokolov is hit in the left arm. The bone is fractured. He does not stop. At 4:39, the Soviet artillery barrage scheduled for 5 o'clock begins early. The rounds land at 4:39 and 20 seconds, 200 meters short of the planned line. The timing error is never explained. The first shells land directly on the German infantry massing near the ditch. Sokolov does not look back. July 12, 1943. 4:55 hours. Same sector. When the artillery barrage ends, the ground around the anti-tank ditch has been altered. The ditch no longer has a continuous profile. Sections have collapsed inward. The burned-out T-34 is partially buried. The wheat field is on fire in several places. German forces withdraw 120 meters to the west to reorganize. The advance is delayed by 47 minutes. Of the original Soviet platoon strength of 32 men, 21 are dead. 7 are wounded. 4 are unaccounted for. Later accounting determines that 2 of the missing were killed during the barrage and buried by shell impacts. 2 crossed into adjacent positions during the displacement and survived. Ammunition expenditure is recorded after the engagement. The platoon fired approximately 410 rifle rounds, 96 rounds from one DP-27, 37 rounds from the second before it jammed, and 4 PTRD rounds. All grenades were expended. German casualties are estimated from post-battle reports and field counts. At least 18 infantry casualties are confirmed in the immediate area. 1 Panzer IV is destroyed. No German armor is permanently disabled beyond that vehicle. The ground gained by German forces during the initial assault is lost during the artillery barrage. The final front line at 6 o'clock is within 30 meters of the original Soviet position. Senior Lieutenant Sokolov is evacuated at 5:10. His left arm fracture is compound. He has lost significant blood. He remains conscious during evacuation. He does not ask about his men. The engagement is recorded in divisional logs as a local defensive action with partial success. No individual actions are cited. No recommendations are made. By 8 o'clock, the battle has moved elsewhere. Senior Lieutenant Sokolov spends 6 months in hospital. The fracture does not heal cleanly. Bone fragments are removed in October 1943. His arm never fully regains strength. He cannot lift more than 10 kilograms without pain. In January 1944, he is declared fit for limited service. He is reassigned to a training battalion near Tambov. His duties consist of drilling replacements in basic rifle handling and field movement. He does not instruct tactics. He does not lecture. The war ends for him there. He is demobilized in November 1945. The paperwork takes 3 days. He receives a standard travel allowance and a certificate of service. There is no ceremony. His rank is not mentioned in public announcements. He returns to Kursk. The city has changed. The rail yard is damaged. Several residential blocks are missing entirely. His original apartment building still stands, but another family now occupies their room. He does not contest it. His wife and daughter survived the war. They lived with relatives during the occupation period. His daughter does not recognize him at first. He has lost weight. His hair has gone gray at the temples. He resumes work as a survey technician in 1946. The job now involves clearing debris and remeasuring land that no longer matches pre-war records. Many boundary markers are gone. Fields have shifted under shellfire and tank movement. He does not join veterans organizations. He does not attend commemorations. He does not wear his medals, which consist of a single Order of the Red Star awarded in 1944 for sustained service. He speaks rarely about the war. When asked, he gives factual answers. Dates. Places. Unit numbers. He does not describe events in sequence. He does not mention decisions. His left arm limits advancement. Younger men with intact health are promoted over him. He accepts this without comment. In the 1950s, he moves to a smaller apartment on the outskirts of the city. His daughter attends technical school. His wife continues working until retirement. He dies in 1978 from a heart condition. His military records are archived. His name appears on no monuments in Kursk related to the Battle of Prokhorovka. In official histories, his platoon's action is reduced to a single-line entry. No map marks the ditch. The wheat field is replanted within 2 seasons. The engagement south of Prokhorovka on July 12, 1943 altered no operational plans. It did not change the outcome of the battle. It delayed one German advance by less than an hour. The decision taken at 4:27 was not recorded in any order. It appears only indirectly, inferred from movements and timing. It was a judgment made under incomplete information, based on prior experience of delay and its cost. In later analyses of the battle, attention focuses on armored formations and corps-level maneuvers. Platoon actions are aggregated into statistics. Individual decisions are absorbed into averages. The terrain where the anti-tank ditch lay no longer bears signs of fighting. Agricultural reports from the 1950s note improved yields due to soil disruption. No unexploded ordnance is listed in that grid square. What remains, in archival form, is a sequence of times. Ammunition counts. Casualty figures. A brief note stating, held position under pressure. War produces outcomes through accumulation. Not through exception.